Okay, so Tom Casey, he's the founder, chairman, and CEO of Spectrum Plasma in San Marcos, Texas. It is the world's first fully accredited blood bank to prescriptively supply blood plasma exclusively for out-of-hospital treatments. Tom Casey co-founded the world's largest compounding pharmacy and home infusion business that came to be known as Caremark. It is now known as CVS Coram. He was also involved in the development of the world's first pulsatile heart bypass machine, has served as an officer and director of an infection control division of Novo, Sweden, and president of the pharmaceutical company. So please welcome Tom Casey. Mute you real quick. Oh, there you are. Can you talk, Tom? See if we can hear you.
Yes. Hi there. Hi, everyone. Good to be back in Scottsdale. I apologize if my voice is a little hoarse, or some may say I have a voice like a horse, Mr. Ed possibly. And but I'm looking forward to speaking with you tonight, and I'm honored and privileged. So I can answer questions and we can get right to it, or I can kind of give a general overview. Any preferences?
Top. This is a bad check. Yeah, so we Tom, hi, it's Joe. Good to see you again. I think most of us were here when you gave that overview, so it would be we could go into questions. This one. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So how many people remember Tom being here speaking about therapeutic plasma exchange? Okay. So do people have questions already that they want to ask about therapeutic plasma exchange, or do you need Tom to prompt you? They want to be prompted, Tom.
All right. All right. I think the real right to its story is that we're all from Mother Nature. And Harvard declared this year that biology is 99% software, and our cells and tissue are the hardware. And that software is our plasma. And our plasma changes profoundly as we age. Mother Nature peaks us for reproduction. That's our primary purpose from a biological perspective. And so the years of 18 to 25 are when we're at our best, let's say, physically, mentally, from a fertility perspective. And we exclusively collect blood plasma from students at Texas State University, and we sex identify it, and we collect it from 18 to 25-year-olds. And so it was discovered years ago, but continuously proven and published in 2014 that we are able to biohack aging. And that program that we run through our lives is kind of very apparent in all types of species. And we know that whales can live 200 years, and my German Shepherds live 14 years. And as I mentioned last time in Scottsdale, one of my favorites is that a gray rat will live 5 years, but a gray squirrel can live 25 years, even right at the same location. So that programmed aging is very profound. And in 2019, Stanford did a study and mapped everyone's plasma as they age. It's now up to 100,000 people. And they can literally take the plasma out of you, not all of it, just a little sample, and tell you to an accuracy of 3 years how old you are. The profound part of that publication that came out by Stanford and Harvard in 2014 was that you can hack both ways. So I'm 71, so my plasma in an 18-year-old will make every cell in their body think they're 71. And they will act accordingly. And it's like turning the switch on a TV channel. The software controls it. And it's a little more popular to take plasma from 18 to 25-year-olds, but putting that in my body makes every cell in my body respond to those proteins, peptides, cytokines, exosomes, hormones, because it's the complete package. We take it out organically intact, and we immediately take a small sample for testing, but we immediately preserve it at minus 80 degrees centigrade. And we now know that life begets life. Life does not come from synthetic drugs. Life does not come from sterilized biologics. I mentioned that they were able to revive some nematodes out of the Siberian permafrost after 46,000 years. They woke up and they've now successfully reproduced 100 generations. They've got woolly mammoths and they've got cave lions, but they've not found any. They were all dead before they got frozen. And so they've not been able to revive them, and they may clone them, but they have to clone them to another living structure. And so what we have with plasma is the ability to simply and easily, just through an IV, put into our bodies the plasma from an 18 to 25-year-old, and our cells respond. It's entirely volume related because plasma goes to every single cell in your body, your bones, your brain, your heart, your major organs, your skin, your hair, your eyesight. We had the first case at Stanford of wet macular degeneration, which they considered an incurable disease, get reversed. So we reversed a Stanford transplant nurse wet macular degeneration. So it turns out our bodies produce stem cells throughout our entire lives. But as we know, as we age, our ability to heal, really the aging progresses because our stem cells start becoming dormant at the age of 26. And Stanford was able to map out that you start at 26 and you reach your first dip, so to speak, at 34. Then you've got a little bit of a long run. The next dip in our aging is at 60. And then the last dip, so to speak, is at 78. That is how precise the science is. So we take very healthy students. We're a fully accredited blood bank like the Red Cross, but we perform more tests than are required because we want to assure the highest standards. It's not like you're in a car accident or on a battlefield and they're saving your life. We're choosing to do this. So we go the extra measure, although every year plasma and blood are the most biologically safety tested biologics on Earth. And there's 14 million transfusions performed in the United States every day. Approximately 10,000 units of plasma are used every day. There are no fatal reactions from plasma because in the year 2000, testing got so specific, so scientific, that our blood supply has been entirely safe. So it's a safe, and again, it's just an IV, roll up your sleeve and put some of this plasma into your body, and it will trigger the cells throughout your body. And kind of what's interesting, we all hear about the stomach biome. Most inflammatory diseases actually start in our stomachs because we have more bacteria in our stomachs than we have cells in our bodies. And plasma not only takes all the nutrients to every cell in our body, it also takes out the waste. And science has found that when you receive plasma from a young donor, you're actually receiving part of their microbiome, their young microbiome. And so it's been very effective in settling and reestablishing people's biome. So people commonly lose weight, your alertness, your strength, your sense of well-being, your balance, clarity of thought, eyesight, all improve. So again, it's as simple as putting plasma in from our peak of age into our bodies. And you might have heard about cord blood and cord plasma, but that's intended for a fetus. That's intended to develop a fetus. We're choosing this plasma because it's an adult's peak. It is when everything comes together for us. So we're very happy to be able to collect from these healthy students, and we test them for plasma, for proteins. So we perform a lot of tests. We've got a very stringent criteria, but they're all on food plans and they're all athletic, and everybody is in very good shape that we select. And then we make that available to people such as ourselves. And the results have been remarkable. We have slowed down aging 10 to 15 times more than any known substance or biologic, including my two favorites, extreme fasting and extreme exercise. So I will admit to going to St. Patrick's Day and, not always ideally eating, but the plasma is very strong. And there's has been a debate in the scientific community, is the young more important, or is the cleaning the old more important? It's no contest. Just like our younger selves, we're far stronger when we're young than we are when we're old. The young plasma has a profound effect on us. So it's legal. It's been legal since 1938. Since 1942, all the blood supply in this country has been provided, 20% of it has been provided by young donors. The trouble is, here we are 100 years later, and I'm the only blood bank in the world that identifies the sex of the donor, because we do know men and women are very different. And actually, biologically, we also know that women are far more complex. That whole process of menopause is significant, and it has a strong effect on your body. So be able to return 18 to 25-year-old female plasma at the peak of their fertility into you restores and resets so much of your body. We were the first study in 205 years to be able to have Parkinson's patients recover. And it's because the body loses its ability over time. And this is part of that programmed age.
Hey, Tom?
But yes.
Can I just jump in here because you
mentioned... absolutely.
Yeah, you mentioned Parkinson's. Can you talk about some of the conditions that you see being impacted by plasma exchange?
Yes, and it's, I got interested in Parkinson's because my mother died from it. We've also been able to restore, for the first time ever, a Alzheimer's patient's memory. And that's been documented by a Mayo Clinic doctor. And these are profound changes, but yet it's all the same. And we've had diabetics be able to recover their ability to produce insulin, normalize their blood glucose, and also lower their A1C. And upon receiving plasma, it's been 4 years and still counting, and they've not reset themselves. Their body normalized and it maintained itself. I had low testosterone. I never supplemented it. When I received young plasma, my body reset, and my testosterone is at 500, and it's been there now for years without any supplementation. The Parkinson's patients at Stanford had the benefit for 2 years. And so it lasts a very long time. I say it's volume related, but because it lasts a long time, we find that you can go slow and steady, or you can go out. We've got 3 liters of plasma in us. So we're currently in a study where we encourage people to get 2 or 3 liters of plasma, and you can do it over a span of 2 days. because we are in Texas, so there is travel. Although we've got co-investigators in every city: Dallas, Austin,
And
San Antonio.
how often, so if it's a 2-liter or 3-liter transfusion, how often are you recommending people do that?
Well, it's mostly money related. It does last, so it can last 2 years. I've been getting it about once a year. I mean, your mind does whisper, your body does tell you that, boy, I'd like a little more of that. I mean, quite frankly. So part of it is budgetary because it's not covered by insurance. And although it's the least expensive biologic on this scale, it's 1/10 the cost of plasma created pharmaceuticals. The liter costs $5,000, and this is the plasma. 2 liters, 10, 3 liters, 15. And a lot of that's the cost, the testing, everything. It's not a big pharma profit margin. Plasma-related therapies like immunoglobulins, IVIG, are 10 times that cost. But I'm not going to say it's inexpensive, and then you have a couple $1,000s to the doctor to administer it over a couple days. So you'd be looking at 15 to 20,000. The most important thing is to introduce it to your body, because like with me, my body hadn't seen those proteins and those peptides and those hormones for 50 years. And it makes a huge effect. Now, when you go back, ideally, go ahead, Joe.
Sorry, do you see it having an impact on, like, is it like a potentially part of a strategy for osteoporosis?
It's had a very profound impact on that. And actually, a couple things that people do. You can localize your injections. So you can do joint injections specifically. You can also do a vampire facelift, the way Dracula intended, not with platelets, which are just a clotting cell. So we've had profound benefits from facials and from joint injections. And oftentimes they're done at the same time, because when you receive an infusion, you're going to be there for a couple hours. So while you're on the recliner doing drip, 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 then they'll microneedle your face and rub it in. Some of the proteins are too big just to rub in, but it recovers very quickly. And then if you have a sore knee, ankle, wrist, shoulder, they can do a specific localized injection. So again, it's volume related, but you can target it. So it's very, very effective. We like to talk about diseases. You know, I've got heart disease, I've got renal failure, I've got neurodegeneration. The plasma doesn't care. It goes to every single cell in your body. One of the kind of funny things is, with the Parkinson's patient, you know, we'd come in and do the interview after their treatment. It's like, how you doing? Like, well, I'm dancing, you know, my libido's a little better, you know, I can see better. And it's like, yeah, but how's your Parkinson's? So the plasma goes everywhere. And just kind of a little bit of, I guess, medical room humor. The other thing we found out is with Alzheimer's patients, we don't lose our memories, we lose our ability to access them. And we found with this Alzheimer's patient, she was at a 3 on a 0 to 30 cognitive scale, meaning she didn't know where she was, couldn't recognize her family. 2 weeks later, she remembered them to be the pain they always were. And when you say, geez, Mom, unbelievable, you know who I am, they don't remember that they had lost their memory.
Amazing.
So yeah, really, really, it's so gratifying, but it all gets back to, this is how nature does it. Right. And we're very careful to preserve it and put it in our bodies. So at one level, it's very complex because we are quantum beings. We are not binary. And our biology is very complex. So you're not going to cure Parkinson's and Alzheimer's giving synthetic drugs or sterilized products. You have to communicate at a quantum level. just like those nematodes waking up. So we preserve it and then thaw it just before you get it. So all that natural vitality is there and it's all intact.
Tom, let me open it up here to see if anybody has questions. While people are thinking about questions, I want to ask you: have you actually done like age testing? Have you done DNA methylation or one of those in the context? And have you seen age
Yes,
reversal?
that Joe is my saying that we've been able to reduce the pace of aging by a factor of 10 to 15 more than any known substance. We're now, though, making an adjustment because as the science continues, it turns out that some of the research from, let's say, extreme fasting or caloric restriction doesn't show up in the methylated data. So it's now becoming apparent that some adjustments in proteins and enzymes, even though we've gotten phenomenal results, we have a couple of people on the leaderboard of what's called the Rejuvenation Olympics, which is epigenetically based. But it turns out that the plasma is so complex that epigenetic testing is not able to deal with it. And so we're right now coming up, there's some of the original epigenetic testers, the Levines out of Yale, for example, are now coming up with some tests where we can find at a blood test, which are also much less expensive, a 96% accuracy in determining your biologic age. So we're really at the front of this. We've seen remarkable results, but it's been the community's consensus that although epigenetic testing is new to a lot of people, there are some factors like diet that do not appear. And we believe that actually our results could be better. They've been outstanding. But we're at the point now where we're going to switch over to the Levine blood test and save a lot of money, but we think get highly accurate results that will reflect the plasma.
So Tom, here's a question from somebody who's with us online. They want to know if extreme hearing loss can be impacted positively by plasma.
I think that it probably would. It depends on the type of damage, like that wet macular degeneration. We've done a couple hundred patients, so we haven't got, the background from everything, but the process is very simple. So it depends on how the hearing was lost, physical damage or just deterioration. But like the wet macular degeneration, Stanford categorized that as incurable.
In this case, it was an infection.
Well, then you may have a very good chance. So I don't have that as a specific case study, but inflammation, like immunoglobulins, they're in your plasma. And that's a $10 billion treatment from pharmaceutical companies, but they use the sterilized product. So we've been getting far better results, just like convalescent plasma did compared to other forms of treatment during COVID. So the probability is great. And, the plasma is what would turn that around, because other instances of things that have not been able to be cured have been.
And on that note, what about cancer? What are the implications for cancer?
We've had one of your supporters, Dr. Jeffrey Gladden in Dallas, treated a cancer patient and found that it significantly improved that patient. Our first ever patient was a cancer patient, and because it lowers the body's inflammation, and that helps and it boosts the body's immune system, and that actually is contributory to fighting. Now, I will say that originally we were a little worried about it, because it's like, if you stimulate all the cells in your body, are you going to stimulate cancer cells? But all the experience we've had from these co-investigators is actually it stimulates your immune system, lowers your inflammation, and helps your fight against cancer.
Gotcha. Okay, what other question? Go ahead.
Hey, thank you, Tom, again. Two questions, actually. In any of the treatments, did you come across any side effects?
Well, universally, we blood match and sex match, blood type match and sex match. So the common occurrence, which is pre-treatable with Benadryl, is a slight case of hives. And you can treat with Benadryl or progesterone, and it's a non-event. And some people don't get it, but that really is the reaction. The other concern we have applies to any IV, which is circulatory overload. So if you have circulatory issues, go a little slower. What we do, the term plasma exchange has been used. So first you can do this as an IV. And I've been in the IV business for a long time. So most people can take 1 liter. But if you remove a little of blood or plasma before you administer the young plasma, then you can take 2 liters. So you can either go slow, you can spread it out a little bit. I've taken 2 liters in 1 session, but I'm a pretty big guy. So we now offer co-investigators that can remove, let's say, 1 liter of plasma and then put 2 liters of young plasma in, or remove, make a blood donation, basically, even if it gets thrown in the garbage can, make a little room. So circulatory overload is one of the concerns, but that's easily addressable. And then hives is just really a case of Benadryl and you won't get them. And that's very, very easy, but that's really it. And again, we do about 2.1 million multiple plasma unit transfusions in the United States every year. The FDA has documented this for decades on an annual basis. And there are no, with plasma, substantial adverse reactions at all, other than those that I mentioned.
Okay, let's get a couple other questions. Can someone run in that mic? Go ahead.
So 2 questions. As I understand, plasma contains DNA. How does someone else's DNA affect me? Question number 1. Question number 2, what is your testing process to make sure this is safe?
Well, I'll start with 2 first. The testing standards are very well established. The Code of Federal Regulations and the Food and Drug Administration, that all blood banks, from the Red Cross to the American Association of Blood Banks, follow, which is about 1,300 facilities. So those are very, very well established, and they adjust them from time to time. We used to have to test for the Zika mosquito virus, and that's kind of faded away. We were told by February 2020 that COVID is not transferred in blood or plasma. We do test on a localized basis, including Texas, for the West Nile virus. So that's kind of a moving list. But there's about 20 tests, and we at Spectrum perform more than any blood bank, and especially an important test. We sex identify, and again, I'm the only blood bank in the world after 100 years that distinguishes male versus female donors. But some females, if they have a fetus incompatible blood type with themselves, can develop an antibody that's not good for men to receive. And it's actually not particularly good for women, but it's especially bad for men on occasion, very, very rare.
I know.
So we're the only blood bank that tests all females for HLA, even though we sex identify and strongly believe females should receive plasma from females, just like males should receive plasma from males. Now, plasma does not contain any cells, so it influences your DNA, but there are absolutely no cells in plasma. So we take out the red cells, the white cells, the platelets, and we leave behind, it's 92% water, but it's only proteins, peptides, cytokines, exosomes, hormones, and certain minerals. Now,
Tom, I
there's 10,500 proteins. So you've got your immunoglobulins, your fibrogens, your albumins, you've got all your peptides. There's 5,000 of them. GDF11, people hear a lot about. That's 1 out of 5,000.
So let's
And
try,
so-
Tom, let me
Yeah.
let me jump in here because we're going to try to we got time for a couple more questions, but I think there's going to be more questions than that. So if it's okay, is it okay with you if we share? Is there an email or something that you can share with people, and then they can ask you some of these questions directly?
Oh, absolutely. It's Tom at
Yeah.
Spectrum Plasma.
We'll send it out. We've got it. We'll send it out. Okay, so we got time for 2 more questions. So we'll have Dean and then Sarah.
Hey, Tom, thank you for this information. It's very, very interesting. I've had on my radar this infusion, plasma infusion, but also stem cell infusion. And so you say that plasma infusion makes it to every cell, and that's what they say about stem cells. So if I do plasma infusion, do I need to do stem cell infusion as well? You've been asked
No, because, and I was originally going to get in the stem cell business. I was at the University of California, San Diego. And when UCLA first discovered, let's say, adult stem cells, and I spent a lot of time in that field. Unfortunately, if you take stem cells out of you or me, they're already dormant. And so you can culture them, but fundamentally they're asleep, which is why, they're not doing much for you now. And you've got to trigger and stimulate them. But what happens is your body produces stem cells throughout your entire life. They've done autopsies on 80-year-olds, and they have brand new stem cells in their brains, but they remain incessant. So the issue is you don't need stem cells. You need to wake up the stem cells your body continually produces. And that falling asleep process starts when you're 26 and again, 34, 60, 78. So really the unfortunate part about it, and sometimes it's even hard to culture stem cells from older individuals, and oftentimes stem cells are tissue specific. So a lot of people talk about, I'll take adipose tissue and I'll pull stem cells out of that. Well, that's not going to be brain or heart stem cells. And so it just is by the time, and the same thing applies to platelets. So you get PRP treatments. Well, if you're older and you pull your platelets out of yourself, they're not that viable. So you don't need to do that. You can just take the plasma, it will wake up and nourish and replenish all the stem cells your body produces. So they're going to wake up and go, wow, I'm 21. And they start producing, which is how that wet macular degeneration case recovered, which is how we find all of these instances that people say are uncurable or they can't do anything. And at RadFest, one of our Team Texas was Stan Jones from Celtex, because they've now realized, or he has realized, that it's a whole heck of a lot easier just to put young plasma in your body and stimulate all the stem cells. Because also, quite frankly, when you put the stem cells intravenously into your body cleans them all out.
Tom,
and so if you think they're going to go to where you want them to go, they probably won't.
Let's get one more question in here, and then we're going to wrap it up. But we are going to share your email address, and people can follow up with you directly. Please.
Okay, thank you so much. My question is vaccination is vaccination like COVID vaccination? I'm not vaccinated. It's a protein. So is it carrying in the blood? And the pill against pregnancy is hormone. So for women, does the blood carry that too? The blood.
Well, I may have you repeat the second question, but I'll talk to the first one first. which is no, vaccines actually dissipate very quickly. It triggers an immune response. COVID is not carried in our blood or our plasma. And we've had millions and millions and millions. I mean, it's been 4 years. So we've had 8 million people receive plasma from donors, and there is no transference. And that's been documented. And I can send to the coalition the statements on that from the American Association of Blood Banks. But it's absolutely not an issue at all. And your question about hormones was, could you repeat?
She was asking about a birth control pill. If I suppose the hormone in a birth control pill is carried in the plasma?
No, I mean, it's also like, what about if a college kid smokes pot or something? And what you find is your body.
Ask you that next.
And
Because I know those college kids.
The bad news is no, it doesn't carry over. But the interesting thing with birth control pills, just being a plasma guy, I can look at a female's plasma and it gives it a little bit of a green tint, but it won't impede anyone's fertility. So no, and you're getting the benefit of all those peak of fertility hormones, and those are in full production.
So in other words, all this plasma is coming from students in Texas. So we're not going to all become Texans?
Well, you'll be range fed and well bred, but
Yeah, right. Okay, there we go.
and they have a hell of a football team.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you so much, Tom. You're great.
My pleasure. Thank you.
He's an amazing guy. He has so much information, as you can tell. It's hard for him to just capsulate anything and shortly, because you are. It's beautiful. Really, you have so much great information, and we appreciate it.
My employees like the fact that I lost my voice for a little while, so thank you, Jim.
Understood. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
We'll share your email with everybody for follow-ups. Okay. And
Thank you very much.
One quick thing. I think your offer for 2 for 1.
Yes.
Price, okay, the 15,000 for 2 is until the end of December. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Then after that, it's back to just the normal prices.
Yes. And we had collected more for females, and so we're doing the 2 for 1. We've normalized our collection pattern. For some reason, females are a little more hesitant to roll up their sleeve, but again, they're biologically more complex. So actually, I got into this saying, I am really going to focus on females, and I'm going to make sure they get what they need. And so we had a little overage, and I hope you come in over the next couple of weeks and take advantage of that for sure.
Okay, thank you so much. Take good care.
Thank
Get
you.
over that cold completely.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bye-bye.
All right.